Well, it is my pleasure today to welcome Patrick Bet-David, host of PBD Podcast, founder of Valuetainment, author of Your Next 5 Moves, part owner of the Yankees. You can follow him at patrickbet, betdavid.com, also on X at patrickbetdavid. There is the book. And once we are done speaking to Patrick, we're going to bring Carla Treadway around. She's a communication director for We Unify. That's the organization we're going to be speaking on behalf of up in Canada and British Columbia. And Carla lost her brick and mortar business during lockdowns in Canada and now teaches business owners how to protect their companies from government overreach, which is, like I've said repeatedly, some of us hadn't gotten over COVID yet. That's something maybe we'll start with Patrick, who's got a lot to tell us about. We'll get to it after this. Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying. You go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say. Summer is right around the corner, and unfortunately, so are those visible dark spots, sunspots, other blemishes that the sun leaves behind. Until now, the deep correcting serum from our friends at Genucel visibly fades away dark marks, sunspots, scars, and other signs of discoloration all over your skin. You'd be amazed at how quickly you'll see results. Now you can enjoy your summer, sun, beach, barbecues without the annoying spots. And as always, Genucel guarantees you'll see the results or your money back, no questions asked. Right now, you can save over 50% off Susan's skincare essentials at Genucel.com/Drew, plus save an extra 25% automatically applied at checkout for world-class skincare that works.
I know I'm a snob about the products I use on my face. Everybody knows it. Every time I go to the dermatologist's office, they're just rows and rows of different creams. And then when I get to the counter, they're overpriced. All kinds of products that you can all find at Genucel.com.
Order right now and you get the Genucel Ultra Retinol for a hydrating, moisturizing effect on the delicate skin during the harsh summer months. Visit Genucel.com/Drew now and get free shipping. That is Genucel.com/Drew, GENUCEL.com/DREW. It's getting hotter outside, but do not let the heat keep you from a good night's sleep. Cozy Earth has the solution you've been dreaming of. Right now, you can get 30% off with the code DREW at checkout. Cozy Earth's revolutionary products are designed to keep you cool and comfortable no matter how high the temperatures. They use premium viscose from highly sustainable bamboo, and we sleep in them regularly. I wear their t-shirts. Susan wears their pajamas. Ever since we put these on our bed, I've noticed a big difference in my sleep. And here's the best part. With their 100-night sleep trial and 10-year warranty, you can invest in quality and durability with total peace of mind. Trust me, once you experience the comfort of Cozy Earth, you will not want to go back. Remember to go to CozyEarth.com/Drew to enjoy that 30% off using the code DREW. And after placing your order, select podcast in the survey and then select Ask Dr. Drew in the drop-down menu that follows. Transform your sleep and stay cool with Cozy Earth. That is CozyEarth.com/Drew. All right. We're going to get to Carla Treadway a little bit later in the hour, but let's look at the guest coming up. We've got Charlie Kirk and Carrie Lake both coming in on Monday. Jay Metzel and Tom Renz is going to give us an update what's going on with him. Gabriel Shipton, that's Julian Assange's brother. Salty Cracker is going to come early. We've got some early shows coming up. Salty will be at noon, I believe. And we'll have Andrew Huff in studio. I don't know if that's up there, Caleb, but that is the July 2nd. And then July 9th is again early. Christine Stabel-Ben. And Dave Rubin in studio July 10th. So these are all things to look forward to coming up. Right now, though, is no exception. It's Patrick Bet-David. You can follow him on Twitter or on X at Patrick Bet-David, just like it sounds. Also at patrickbetdavid.com. Let's put the book up again. It's Your Next 5 Moves. And he's got a number of other things to share with us, including Minect and the Vault Conference, just to name a few. Patrick, welcome to the program.
It's great to be on with you. How you doing?
Excellent. Excellent. So I want to get, I don't know almost where to start. I'm wondering if I was talking about Carla, who's coming in about, within the hour or so, but I was talking about how COVID and government overreach was such a shock to the system that personally I haven't gotten over it. I just can't get over what was able to be done to us, what happened to us. It's nothing to do with the infectious disease. It's what our governments and what world governments did in response to it. I wonder, let's start there. What were your thoughts on that?
On how they handled it and how they treated us? Oh, I mean, we learned a lot about them. I mean, if you look at certain events in history where how things are handled and how things are treated at the time by people that have power over us, you'll learn what and how far they're willing to go. And then if you are a little bit too forgiving, okay, I know, as a nation, we're generally a Christian nation, Catholic nation. We believe in forgiveness and moving on and, turn the cheek and all this stuff. You may forgive, but you can't forget. My interest right now is purely accountability. That's what I want to know. I want to know what's going to be happening with whoever ends up becoming a president. Are we going to find out what Fauci did? I love some of these interviews that's been happening, the conversations that we're having. I'm interested in accountability to make sure they can't do that to us again. And hopefully the American voters, the American people will not have a short-term memory, forgetting about how they shut down everybody. They closed 200,000 businesses. $13 trillion of money was lost. Kids were at home, not knowing what to do. Parents are trying to work or not work. You're either a non-essential or essential, chosen by them what industry is more important than others, and mocked if you didn't take the vaccine or you wanted to wait to see if it's better for you. I just hope the American people didn't forget what they did to us during those 2 or 3 years.
Well, I think there are a subset of us who haven't forgotten and can't get over it. It's interesting, 20% of people are sort of prone to hypnosis, and they seem to be in an hysteria during this thing, and they don't want to think about the fact that they were brainwashed, frankly. 70% were just trying to get through and trying to stay out of trouble, and 5 or 10% was throwing the bullshit flag. Like, come on, what's going on here? And I think that's people who want accountability. But more than accountability, I think I want, like you said, I want to be sure that it doesn't happen again. And my fear is if people go out and start looking for actionable transgressions, people are going to really go into the foxholes and really hide out and build their legal teams. And we're going to never find out what the hell happened. So I almost rather than accountability, we get to what went on. How did this get so bad? Why was it so wrong? And what do we need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, it's so interesting. This morning we're doing podcasts with the home team, our crew. And one of the things Adam said is he's watching the Kevin Spacey clip with Piers Morgan. I don't know if you watch it or not. There's a clip where, Piers is asking him about where you're at right now financially. Kevin is talking about bankruptcy. He breaks down crying, gets emotional. How much money do you have? Nothing. What do you mean? You have nothing? I have nothing. How much do you owe in debt? I owe millions. How many millions? Multiple millions and legal fees. I'm about to lose my house, bankruptcy. I'm going to leave Maryland. I've been living here for 15 years or 12 years since I did House of Cards and all this stuff. And then, at the end of the interview, that 2-minute clip, I asked the crew, I said, so do you believe him or do you think he's acting? Okay, question I'm asking everybody. Vinny, who is a comedian and an actor, he says, oh, for sure he's acting. Adam over here says, it's so funny. The first time I watched it, I believed him. But now that I'm watching it for a second time, I forgot this guy's one of the greatest actors of all time. And I felt sympathy for him. And he says, I'm not gonna fall for what they did to us like they did with Russia collusion, where I felt like there was something going on with Russia. So here's the thing. What I'm interested in is, remember when Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi were writing the Twitter files, and every week it's like the next Twitter files, and here's who was involved, and the Biden administration asked Twitter to not post this up, and here's what was really going on with this and with that, and we're like, oh my God, the Twitter files, and everybody was reacting to it on podcasts, showing mainstream media didn't want to talk about Twitter files, but all the podcasters, independent, outlets out there, they were talking about it. What did we learn? We learned that those 50 of the highest ranking secret intelligence agency leaders that said there is nothing in the laptop, and we believed, guess what? They lied. We realized in, that this New York Post story, the Hunter Biden laptop, you cannot let that Twitter go because it was going viral. Everybody was retweeting it. Boom. Jack Dorsey and those guys shut it down. And they said, no, this is fake news. We knew if that would have gone, that would have flipped the script on what happened with elections. So what happened there? Imagine now what we don't know about YouTube files. What if there was a YouTube files on channels that were canceled? What if there was Google files on who they allow advertising or not? What if there's Facebook files? We'll never find those three companies because they're not going to be giving up ownership to somebody else. And if you do, somebody has to cut a real good check because those are not $40 billion companies like Twitter and X is. Those are $500 billion companies to $1 trillion company that someone has to pay money. They're not going to find that out. But what if we get somebody that works in the White House, a new president? And what if we get something being released to the people, taxpayers, you and I, called the FBI files? What if we get the CIA files? What if we get the DOJ files? What if Trump or somebody that gets in there like an RFK or a Trump gets in there and says, hey, I'm flat out, or Trump becomes a president, he brings RFK in to say, you are responsible for finding out what happens with COVID. Are you kidding me? Imagine all of that communication exchange that we see to find out how corrupt it was, if it was. Some of us are convinced it was, but this way, the rest of the world that says, you don't know what you're talking about, you just jump into conclusion, no problem. Now we have an FBI files. Now we have a CIA files. Now we have a DOJ files. Now we can sit there and realize the corrupt people are not the corrupt people. A month and a half ago, I don't know if you saw this clip, brilliant. Bukele, who is the president of El Salvador, who just had his inauguration, re-election, and he's being interviewed, and he's sitting in his, say, House of Representatives. And I don't know if you saw this. He says, I have made a decision to do something with all of you in here. He says, we're officially investigating all of you to see which one of you guys have taken money from people and have been sold to and have been bought. He says, if you never took money from anybody and you're not a criminal, don't worry about it. But if you are, we're about to find out because we're investigating every single one of you. So imagine the president sits in the House and tells every congressman, imagine telling every senator, we're going to investigate you to find out if you ever were bribed by criminals, by gangsters, by big pharma, by any of these guys. We're investigating all of you. Then he says, I know this is a risky investigation for me to do because many have said, do you realize if you go down this rabbit hole, you're probably going to get killed? And he says, quite frankly, I don't fear that. I'm doing this because I know what I want my legacy to stand for. If I stole money and I've been bribed, I deserve to go to jail. But if you guys have as well, you deserve to go to jail. So don't worry if you've been doing your business the right way. Can you imagine somebody having the brass to say that to his house? Think about that. How scary of a situation that is, right? Wonderful. But imagine if we did that here, what would happen to our guys? What would happen to our Congress and Senate? So again, for me, I am interested in FBI files, CIA files, and DOJ files. I want to know what the hell happened the last few years.
Yeah, we need like a sunshine policy of some type. Because here's the thing with our congressmen or whatnot, our elected officials. I guarantee you they're all taking money, but they're all doing it through a, quote, legitimate process. There are armies of attorneys and lobbyists, and there are ways they do this to make it, quote, legitimate. If they, once we get the sunshine where people can understand what's going on in our government, maybe then there'll be pressure to change the law so they can't do that, or they can't do it that way at least. That's what I'm hoping for. I always figured the reason they're not going after Biden with both guns is they're all in. They're all in on it in some way. They're all doing it in similar fashion.
They are. I mean, listen, I understand that. And that is why, if you go back, one day I was bored out of my mind. So I'm sitting there saying, let me find out of all the people that ran for office, I want to know who raised the least amount of money from other people and put their own money, and who relied on others to give money to their campaign. So we're going down the list, and it shows up Joseph Kennedy gave at first 50% of all the money for his son, eventually ended up being 25%, 75% was from donors, but still 25% came from the Kennedy family to help the son become a president. Interesting. So that means you have skin in the game. Great. Reagan was like at 9.6%. And then you go down, you see Clinton's 0, Obama's 0, Biden's 0, Trump was like 20-25%, right? And then you go back and you think about who were some of the people that there was an assassination attempt on. Let's go through some of the names. Reagan, non-establishment. He came in and pushed the envelope and they hated him for it. John F. Kennedy, successful assassination attempt. Not establishment. He was a guy that was anti-establishment, that was trying to push the CIA, push the Fed, push all these guys. They couldn't stand this guy. He was a Democrat. Today, he would have probably been a center-left type of a guy. They took his life. Lincoln, he was not establishment. He was an anti-establishment guy. What happened to him? The people who play these games behind closed doors cannot stand anti-establishment candidates. Today, we have 2 anti-establishment candidates. One of them is Kennedy, who was anti-establishment. His own families come out and say, we're so disappointed in our brother and what he's doing and cannot even believe our family would be this, our family would be that. Like, yeah, I don't think so. I watched a video the other day by Kennedy. He says, the day after my father was assassinated, I became a drug addict for 14 years, almost killed myself, became a heroin addict. I don't know if you saw this video or not. It's just a beautiful message he's given about.
Well, actually, I'm going. Let me just interrupt you. We're going to Albuquerque on Saturday. I'm going to moderate a panel with RFK Jr., with Bobby. As part of it, we're doing a screening about Recovering America. He's got a documentary out there about recovery in America, what his plans are for all the addicts we have in this country. So finish, I'm sorry.
I think the two of you guys are very qualified to talk about that. You on the end where you're the doctor and you've seen a lot of patients, and him as somebody that went through it and recovered and changed his life and became one of the most recognized environmental lawyers we've had in the history of America. But you look at these candidates, what do they fear about Trump? I mean, what other way of assassination is character assassination, embarrass him in front of his kids, embarrass him in front of his wife, embarrass him in front of his friends, embarrass him in front of everybody, make half the country think he's a criminal, convicted felon, give a mugshot. They're doing all of this. What are they afraid of? What are they actually afraid of? This guy's campaigning, traveling all over the place, put his own money on the first 2016 campaign he did, and then all of a sudden, people were giving more money to him. There is a real fear of anti-establishment candidates because they're worried that somebody may expose all the ways they're doing business. And one has to be thinking about that. Think about how many people right now, Dr. Drew, are on the sidelines that are qualified candidates like Trump. They're famous celebrities. They have a lot of followers. They've done well for themselves. They got good lives. They go to a nice restaurant. They eat stuff like foie gras, They eat the high-end sushi, salmon belly, toro, lobster, whatever you want to call it, all the good food. They go places. They always get the table in the corner. Drivers treat them respectfully. Pilots treat them respectfully. Flight attendants treat them respectfully. And then they're sitting there saying, one of the things on my bucket list is to one day run for office because I'd like to give back to the country that changed my life. But you know what? The way I'm seeing them treat Donald J. Trump, what will they do to me? I'm not running. I'm out. How many people that we want to run who are good people that should fight against these establishment guys just officially said, I'm out. I'm not going to be doing it. Those are the people we want running. The people you don't want running are the people that are wanting your money. They've never had any kind of, money that they've made on their own. They've always worked for the government and they want to control and make decisions for you. Those are the people we don't want running. We want the other guys running that are doing it because of public service. I'm willing to give 4 to 8 years of my life of doing this, kind of like I was back in the days. A lot of those guys are sitting around saying, yeah, I'm out. I have no desire to ever become a president. And that's a scary thought because we need those guys considering it.
I agree. And a lot of the problem, in addition to what you've pointed out here, is the fact that there's this middle level of bureaucracy that's so heavy and so elitist and so ensconced. I had a friend, we have someone we interviewed here named Paul Alexander, who's a famous researcher, and he was in the HHS during COVID. And at one point, because he's from the Caribbean and he has a heavy accent, they assumed he was from the inner circle of these bureaucrats, and they took him aside. These guys from the State Department took him aside and said, "Hey, Trump, don't worry about him. He's a visitor here. We run the government. We, the bureaucrats, we'll make all the decisions. We don't have to worry about those guys." Right. And to have them say that and think that out loud, to me, is so disgusting and so contrary to the basic principles of this country. I just find it outrageous.
Yeah, and that's even more of a reason for us to respect candidates as RFK and Trump. You don't have to agree with everything they stand for. I mean, obviously, one of the questions I asked Bobby was, tell me about your position with, puberty blockers. And he says, I haven't really looked into it, so I don't have a strong position. I'm like, Bobby, you mean to tell me you're okay with this happening? Like forcing kids under the age of 18 to go through these surgeries? You think that's normal? You're smart. That's not normal. 4 months later, he changes his position and he's saying, here's what I would be doing. And my position has changed. Great. We like that. We like the fact that's like, okay, listen, tell me more. I'm willing to go through. We don't have to agree with everything with Trump or RFK, but you have to know, this past Tuesday, I was speaking at Chase's annual Small Business Owner Symposium, and it was in Palos Verdes in LA. I rarely take my whole family to LA. It was my first time I took my youngest daughter to LA. I got 4 kids born in 3 states, 2 in California, 1 in Texas, 1 in Florida. And so we go there, and I'm speaking to this group, and I tell all of them, there's 1,000 business owners in there. I said, you have no idea. I said, typically when I'm at an airport and I see somebody in uniform, I'll say, thank you for your service, right? But I said, when I see small business owners that risk putting everything on the line, their salaries on the line, their marriage on the line, their sanity on the line, their sleep on the line, their well-being on the line, to go start a business that can potentially go bankrupt and have to go back to starting from scratch, and the humiliation when you lose everything and everybody says, look at you, you could never made it, you failed, I told you should have never done it. You were willing to do that. To me, you're a patriot of our economy, small business owners. Now, the highest level where we are today. For people like RFK and Trump to be willing to take an anti-establishment position, to go out there and push the envelope and be hated the way they have, or RFK's been, about a year? But for Trump's been about 9 years since 2015, at the levels that obviously Trump, no one in the history of America has experienced what that guy's experienced. And you're still going with it and you're still doing it. You don't have to like the person to respect the fact that this is a very tough job that you're putting through. These people officially don't have a life. The life that they used to have is officially gone. I'm a small little, we run a #1 business podcast on Spotify and, on Apple. And, we get 500 million views on a monthly basis, total social media, whatever you want to call it, right? I'm in Beverly Hills the other day, walking around in Rodeo Drive. This one guy comes and puts a phone in front of my face and, I can't believe you're this, you're an apologetic this, you can't say this, why don't you say this? And I want you to say this. And then we're like, listen, Vinny's carrying my daughter, relax. So I have my family, Vinny's getting upset, I have my family, my 4 kids, walk off, and I pause a little bit in the back and I say, man, you're fine, thank you, all good, God bless, wish you nothing but the best. And we walk off. You lose that life. They used to just go shopping. You lose the life when you specifically talk politics. It's different if you're somebody that's famous because you're rich and you're an athlete and you're this and you're an actor and you don't talk a lot about your opinions, where there's a 50% of the country that's going to disagree with you. He had that life. You mean to tell me you were the #1 show for 15 years with Apprentice and you were a billionaire having dinner with everybody, you had all these nice parties, and then you give that up to have a shitty life like this? Yeah, you got to applaud these guys that they have the brass to go up against some of these deceptive leaders that we have that are trying to destroy America. I salute those men.
One of the strangest impulses, I can't even imagine how strange this impulse is telling talk show host who they should talk to. Do they call, the daytime talk show? They call The View and tell them who they should quote platform and who they don't talk. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. There's digital talk now. People discuss things. People and interesting things and interesting points of view make for good talk programs. Just the idea, the hubris, the freaking hubris and grandiosity. If people think they should be the one producing or booking a particular person's show is just the weirdest thing in the world to me. But let me have to go to break in a second. You said something about the FBI files and the CIA files, which is interesting. It's a fascinating idea. And that would lead us to Facebook and YouTube and what would the other one be? Facebook, YouTube, somebody help me here. Anyway, the other social media, the giant social media platforms that no doubt have duplicitous participation in all this. My understanding is you got kicked off YouTube. I've been kicked off YouTube multiple times for ridiculous things, things that they no longer keep people off YouTube for. Did I read correctly because of just having a relationship with Andrew Tate and talking to him?
No, we've gotten strikes on YouTube, but we've never had anything happen with our channels. But when we did have Andrew Tate on, obviously we got a lot of hate when we had Andrew Tate on. He was, and we had him on. The first time was when he got arrested, and we were the first to do the interview. And the second time was when he got released from jail. We were the first to do the interview, where we flew out to. First one was in Madrid. Second one was in Romania when we did the interview, and it just took off. Now, look, for me, the people that we've had on the podcast, I like to talk to almost everybody. Let me give you an idea. We'll have Anthony Weiner on, and we'll have a nice feisty, podcast that we'll do. And if you're disrespectful, that means you're playing dirty. I don't mind playing dirty with you. If you want to play dirty, let's play. Let's see what happens. I'm okay with that. But if you're respectful, I'm always going to give you the respect, and we'll have a good podcast together regardless. If we invited Anthony Weiner back on the podcast, he would still come back on the podcast. We've had Jeffrey Toobin on. We've had Cuomo on. We've had mobsters on. We've had Kobe on. We've had presidents on. We've had, political, billionaires on. We'll talk to anybody and everybody. And I think that's the part where the market kind of sits one day, and they're like, did they just talk to such and such? Yes. Wait, who's coming on tomorrow? Why would she come on? She probably can't stand these guys. And they brought a communist and they brought a socialist. Yeah. So I like to have the conversations because I think, typically when you have a 2-hour conversation with someone on a long form, it's just a matter of time until the viewer can find leaks in their argument for them to say, yeah, I don't know if I agree with this guy. Or I may have a leak in my argument and say, Pat, you're off today with your argument. Great. And then the audience wins.
Yeah. And what usually ends up happening in my experience is you find more common ground than you expect. I mean, the idea that there could be very significant differences, of course, but so much of the acrimony is falsely amplified by mainstream media.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question about it. Look, there are certain businesses that you have to know who benefit from change, conflict, division, controversy. That's the business model. And you need more of that, right? A divorce lawyer, if you're going through a divorce, okay, and you and your wife are sitting here, there's 2 lawyers. The job of the lawyers is to make you guys fight even more so they can increase the fees. And they'll say to you, look, typically my fee for divorce is $5,000 to $10,000. I've never been through it, but I've interviewed divorce lawyers and I know a lot of it. It's a very interesting business model. It's $5,000 to $10,000, maybe $20,000. Okay. And then boom. Well, we didn't think it was going to be this much. Now it's $62,000. What? There is a financial benefit for a divorce lawyer to make sure you guys fight more. It's beneficial to the divorce lawyer, right? There's a benefit when you're going through writing up a nuptial agreement with a person you're going to marry. That person benefits from making you say, well, why don't you ask that for more? I don't think he's given you enough. I think you're giving her too much. These lines that you say to her, that you say to him, if you have a female client, you tell her certain 7 lines. If you have a male client, there's certain 7 lines you tell him to piss him off against her. And then fees go from 7 hours to 42 hours. Boom. It was going to be $7,000, but I did not expect you. So the mainstream media benefits from the left and the right hating each other. The government benefits from having 2 people. There's so many people benefit from that. If you can find out who benefits from you hating someone and you disagreeing with someone, then you'll sit there and say, oh, now I can kind of control and realize what the business model is. And I'm not going to participate in your little shit show that you got going on. But I understand your motive. I understand what you're doing. I'm not going to be a part of it. I can sit down and have a conversation with almost anybody, and we can find areas where you say, look, we have like 80% of things we're on the same page with. Yeah, I know. What do you want to do with the last 20%? Do you want to just have a friendly debate about it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go through. What do you think about this? Da, da, da. Well, here's where I stand because, why? Because of this. Okay, cool. What's yours? Because of this. Then it gets a little bit heated. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, but 80% of the stuff we agree on. Yeah. Let's not let the 20% get us to go through a divorce on the 80%. America's very close to a divorce because we're focused way too much on the 5 to 10%.
Yeah, I completely agree. I got to take a little break here. It's funny. I did a documentary called Divorce Corp about how the family court works and the crony system there, and a Divorce Corp. And it really, what we were highlighting amongst what beyond what you've already pointed out was that you relinquish all your civil liberties when you go into a family court. It's not. It's a completely different system, number one. Number two, the judges and the attorneys are all, it's a crony system. They all know each other. They're all in on it. And their job is to, as you said, the attorney's job is to ring this thing as long as possible. As long as they ring that bell, it's coming home for them. And it gets egregious. It's just terrible. When we get back, I want to talk about the Vault conference.
Those people.
Yeah, I'm sure. And by the way, the other thing about the mainstream media, you mentioned the, other people that create conflict and want to attract eyes. When COVID was first going down, I could just sense it was. I thought it was all the media doing it, because I thought, oh, they're just doing their thing to get people to watch them. They're trying to create a panic, and I was just trying to get people to calm down. I had never imagined the government would be so in on it. That to me was a big shock. But when we get back, I want to talk about the Vault conference and Minect. We'll tell you about that. We are here, of course, with the host of the PDB podcast and author of Your Next 5 Moves, Patrick Bet-David, where you can follow him on X, Patrick Bet-David. We'll be back in just a moment. Please pay attention and support the people that support us. We appreciate it. Joint and muscle pains are exhausting and frustrating, but I've got a over-the-counter medication I want to introduce you to that provides great relief using the power of, check it out, chili peppers. Capsidin is made with a proprietary formula that contains no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, no opioids, no anesthetic or steroid, nothing, no chance for addiction, no side effects, no chance it's going to interact with other medication you might be taking. Capsidin contains capsaicin, which is the substance in chili peppers that burns your tongue. That gives you that burny feeling. And of course, I've recommended capsaicin creams to patients over the years, but other capsaicin creams burn your skin. That's what makes capsidin so unique. In clinical trials, capsidin has actually been demonstrated not to burn.
I've been using capsidin to relieve my pain in my hands and my wrist from carpal tunnel syndrome and arthritis. The results have been amazing. I use it every day during my show, and I highly recommend it.
Get the pain relief you need from various sources, even backache, sprains, bruises even. Order now at capsidin.com/Drew to get a 15% discount plus free shipping. That is CAPSADYN, capsidin.com/DREW. Of course, I'm a fan of the healthy aging supplement True Niagen. I've been taking it almost for a decade myself. This supplement boosts NAD, which your cells need to survive properly metabolically, and it goes down as we age. It does so with a nutrient called nicotinamide riboside, or NR, specifically patented form of NR called Niagen. It's the most efficient and trusted NAD booster. NAD can also play a role in reproductive health. Boosting NAD is recommended with prenatal vitamins for women over 30 looking to start a family. Here's Dr. Amy, also known as the Egg Whisperer, a highly influential specialist in this area.
As NAD levels go down, and it starts going down in our 30s, that's the same age that our egg supply also dwindles. So I'm fighting for every single woman's chance to have a baby. And, repleting NAD is one of the greatest tools in my tool chest that I've been using now for almost 6 years.
True Niagen is an amazing NAD booster. You're going to want to add it to your reproductive health arsenal. And of course, it's in our family of Dr. Drew sponsors. Go to drdrew.com/True Niagen for 20% off your order. That is drdrew.com/True Niagen. Enter Dr. Drew at checkout for 20% off. There are 4 distinct and outstanding medical kits from the Wellness Company: a first aid kit, a travel emergency kit. I was very instrumental in developing that one. I love it. A COVID emergency kit, but let's unpack their medical emergency kit, the one that gives you immediate access to treatment for a variety of medical conditions. Here's the kit: pneumonia, upper respiratory infections, skin infections, gastrointestinal infections. You'll have on-hand medication that will even serve as immediate prophylaxis against a sexually transmitted infection, rapid intervention for Lyme and other tick-borne illnesses. Of course, we've added Tamiflu to our kits. In case the avian flu should become human-to-human transmissible, then we know something is up and we want to be ready. And look, we want to be covered for bioterrorism even. And of course, the Nobel Prize-winning antiparasitic ivermectin, and a how-to guide and a virtual consultant. Get access to these prescription meds by going to drdrew.com/TWC to save 15% off. That is $30 off the medical emergency kit. drdrew.com/TWC for 15% off the kit and any of their kits or their supplements. Do it now. drdrew.com/TWC.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
And finally, perhaps you owe back taxes. The pandemic relief is over. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Don't waste your rights and speak with them on your own. They are not your friends. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you, whether it's business or personal taxes. Even if you have the means to pay or you're on a fixed income, perhaps, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call 800-245-6000 for a private free consultation, or visit drdrew.com/TNUSA. That is 800-245-6000. And the other option is drdrew.com/TNUSA. Let us bring back our guest, as I said, the host of the PBD podcast, Patrick Bet-David. And before the break, I was mentioning the Vault Conference and MNEC. Tell us about those projects.
Yeah. So, one thing most people don't know is we run a consulting firm internally within the business. After I sold the insurance company, we've been running a consulting firm. We got around 5,000 companies we consult for, 60 plus countries. I host an event once a year called the Vault Conference. And this year we're doing it in September. Nearly 10,000 people will be at this event from 180 different industries from all over the world. CEOs, founders, from guys doing $100,000 a year to doing $1 billion a year, from having one employee to 8,000 employees. And for 3.5 days, we go through business strategies on how to take your business to the next level. And this year, I've invited Dwayne Johnson to be there. So Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, will also be at this event, as well as many other people. But
Amazing.
We do that once a year. I'm excited about it.
Well done. Thank you for doing that. And I imagine that the networking opportunities must be profound. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, and MNEC also. Tell them about that really quickly.
Yeah, so MNEC, 7 years ago, I had a call with one of my lawyers for 7 minutes. And you got to love lawyers, right? They always charge you the right amount of time you spend with them. They're very good with the time. So the 7-minute call, he bills me for 30 minutes. I said, what are you doing? He said, what do you mean? I said, we had a 7-minute call. I got right here, documentation. Why'd you bill me for 30 minutes? He said, minutes roll up. I said, not to 30 minutes. It's a 7-minute call. I said, what do you charge per minute? He says, no lawyer charges by the minute. I said, one day I want to build something where I get to pay people to get a response by the minute. So hence, do you have a minute to connect? Nice. That's MNEC. We launched MNEC last month. The month of May was a record-breaking month for MNEC. We had 63 times more completed paid MNECs in May than we had in October of last year. The app is now 42, 43 different countries where people get to pay someone like you, a doctor, a realtor, an investor, somebody who built an app. Maybe they build $1 billion app. You can go talk to somebody who's a developer and find out if the other people are charging you too much. You can talk to lawyers. You can talk to military, Navy SEAL, a bunch of backgrounds. Wife, where you're married. How did your marriage work out 20 years? Hey, my daughter, I'm going to school. I'm going to put her in, but they're getting me to get the vaccination. I live in the state. What did you do when you did? All these different types of questions where if you Instagram somebody, you get a 3% chance to respond back. A cold email is 1% chance. LinkedIn is about 8%. Twitter is 5%. On MNEC, you pay somebody to get a text and audio or a video back from them or a 15-minute call. And your response rate on MNEC is 94%. So that's the beautiful thing about the app, where people are now using it around the world. And we're excited to see what's going to happen with that.
Interesting. Really interesting project. Speaking of finance and business, I understand you're concerned about the world financial system. I also saw some commentary on Saudi Arabia entering their petrodollar agreement. What are your thoughts?
So let's talk about specifically finance in regards to what Saudi is doing with MBS. That guy is, they're very driven. They right now have a guy that's known as the greatest boxing promoter in the world, and they're trying to bring a lot of commerce and traffic to Saudi. They're not going to stop. They're following the playbook of what the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, what he did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, where they were the top 3 countries in the world for tourism, until obviously Jimmy Carter went to Iran and did a toast with them on December 31st of 1977. He left. Khomeini, revolution. Iran's never been the same since then. And the first time a world leader used the word death upon America was in Iran. Khomeini. Prior to that, it was North Korea. But no one's ever said death upon America the way Iran said it. And that became their tagline. And I think what MBS is trying to do to Saudi Arabia to make it bigger and better than what Iran used to be in the 70s. And I think he's the right guy to be able to pull it off, and he's got the right people around him. He's got Ronaldo now over there. He's bringing sports over there, golf. They're willing to spend the money. Economy. Here's a part about business and economy where things are at right now. Just today, I think an hour ago, Elon Musk has a video that came out. He's doing an interview talking about the robot industry will very soon be a billion or a trillion robots per year. Companies will be hiring and buying 100 robots, 200 robots, 1,000 robots. And he says it's going to cost around $10,000 to $30,000 per robot. And he thinks Tesla's going to have 10% of the robot business. Robot business? Are you serious? Yeah. Remember the robot on Rocky IV? When Rocky has that one robot coming in, he would take care of his brother-in-law, and, him and Apollo are having a meeting together, Apollo Creed, and the robot brings the drink. And I was like, oh my God, what if one day we have these robots? That was a movie in the 80s, right? Think about the level of advancements going to happen with robots. And we've seen the iRobot movie with Will Smith. Well, that's going to be here. So where am I going with this? AI and technology is accelerating so fast right now that if you're one that's not learning how to leverage AI in your favor, the speed of you being replaced and the market, I hate to use this word, destroying your job is going to be like this. Very simple. It's here. And it's coming so fast, it's not even funny. Elon just, made a statement saying if Apple uses the open AI model to do what they're doing, I will make sure none of my employees use Apple phone. And, Larry Ellison has his support apparently for making a statement like that. Typically, Larry will say, try to have a good relationship with, Tim Cook, because people, when they download X, they download it on an iPhone, and majority of Americans use iPhone. Maybe not the world, but majority of Americans use iPhone, and your product is an America product. X, of course, it's international, but you got to make sure you're in the right place. So this AI war with what Sam Altman did, gets fired, then he's hired back. And then NVIDIA, what they're doing right now with the $3 trillion company and how they grew the way they have, and like, we're just getting warmed up. This is going to go like this, that if there's ever been a time for you to recreate yourself and your skill sets and actually weigh them out, do my skill sets, will they be needed 10 years from now? Will it be needed 5 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And maybe if you're a parent, I'm 45 years old, I got 4 kids. Are you also thinking about what careers for your kids to enter? How are you positioning them for success? What are you thinking about? What jobs should we be looking at? So today's threat, you're going to very soon meet the first trillionaire in the world, and it's going to happen in no time. We will have a trillionaire. Musk is on track for being the first trillionaire. We're going to have a lot of trillionaires. The concept of the rich getting richer, the poor getting poor is becoming more and more relevant in America. We used to have a big middle community, middle income families. Now the rich has gotten bigger and the poor has gotten bigger. And the middle keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's easy time to make a lot of money today. And it's the best time right now, unfortunately, to get a lot of people getting destroyed. California, $20 minimum wage, some of these bad policies some people are putting. So you got to kind of pick and choose what states you want to live in. Do you want to live in a state with a lot of blue policies where it's overregulation? I just got back from California last night. I mean, I went to Third Street Promenade. This used to be the most amazing place, Third Street. It smells like pee everywhere you go. Places I used to live in, driving by, homeless people everywhere. This was LA, California dreaming. California was the place people wanted to go to. What happened to California? Bad policy. So you got to look at policies. You got to look at economically and how you can increase your own market value, because the market is going to react.
I want to go back to finance for a second. Do you ever worry? I'm watching what's going on in the EU with kind of great interest, and I'm seeing this new wave. Clearly, the various members of the EU want to protect their culture. They're starting to talk about protecting their borders. How do they hang together? And what would happen if that common currency and what is effectively a common debt got interrupted?
Yeah, well, listen, most of us, almost every one of us can be manipulated. Everybody is manipulated all the time. There's a difference. I learned something a long time ago by a man named John Maxwell. He wrote a lot of leadership books. He says, be careful in life when you learn how to persuade, because persuasion is when I'm persuading to make a decision where you win, I win, we both win. Manipulation is I win, you lose. But persuasion, you're one decision away from being a manipulator, right? Where you're all about yourself and you're all about seeing that you get stuff and not the other people. We've all been manipulated. When we were kids, we were manipulated by one of our parents. Say our parents got a divorce and one convinced the other person's evil. Maybe they convinced you for a year or two.
We're being manipulated right now by social media and the mainstream media and our government. It's happening all over the place. We're being censored on one side and manipulated on the other.
Now, here's the key with manipulation. Manipulation has a lifespan. I'm hosting my Vault event last year. On the first days, I give a list of questions for everybody to go to their rooms. It's called the Personal Identity Questionnaire. And the next day you come and you talk about it within a small group. We do a lot of case studies at these events. And I ask them, did you have a breakthrough last night? Tell me about you. Tell me about you. Everybody's kind of going through their own breakthrough. One of the girls was a Middle Eastern girl, late 30s, probably early 40s. She gets up. Her sister's like, say something, say something, say something. No, I don't want to say something. My sister wants to say something. 2,500 people in the room. This is the event we had Tom Brady on. She finally gets up. Well, I just have to tell you this, Patrick. What's that? She says, I run a very successful business. We do a few $1 million per year. I make the most money in our family. I'm the successful one. And for, nearly 40 years of my life, men have been the enemy. I've been competing with them. And I've been beating them. I drive a very nice car. I have all the nice clothes. I eat at the right places. I've done everything. He says, but I've realized I want a husband. I want kids. I want a family. And I was convinced that men were the enemy, and they're not. She was manipulated for how many years? How many videos have we seen of women in their mid-60s saying, I was part of the feminist movement. I marched with them. I'm 65 years old right now, not married, no kids, because I joined the feminist movement and was convinced men were the enemy. They never were. That woman was manipulated for 50 years of her life. That's a lifespan. See, Europe right now, sitting there, they were manipulated for so many years. Let every immigrant in, let all of them in. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You're no longer Britain. You're not. You are no longer Britain. You're no longer what you were, German. All these people you want to let in one of these countries, I think it's Poland, where the guy's like, yeah, we don't let anybody in. Why? Because my number one priority. Hungry. My number one priority, and I love what the guy said, by the way. My number one, I think his name is Dimitri. My number one priority is to my citizens, to protect them, not for other people coming in. Now, somebody may say, Pat, you're such a hypocrite. What's that? You're from Iran. They let you in America. Yeah. So how about you? Well, I lived in Germany for a year and a half at a refugee camp. And then we waited to get our green card. And then we eventually came to America, and I served the U.S. Army, and I love America. I was born in Iran, lived there 10 years. My mother's Armenian, my dad's Assyrian. But I love America. Absolutely love America. Why would anybody in the right mind allow people to come into their homeland, your home, who hate your country? Who in the right mind? Can you imagine you say, yeah, I'd like to work for Apple. Great, how do you feel about our company? I hate you guys. Oh, let's hire you. What a great employee. You're qualified. Let us call your references. Hey, what can you say about John Jordan? Oh, he hates Apple. Phenomenal. Thank you for these references. $200,000 your salary, come on in. What the hell are we thinking about? No, a part of it has to be, you chose to come to our country. We didn't come to get you. You came to us. If you're coming here knocking on our door, wanting a membership to be a citizen of this great country, you best love America. And if you don't, get out. Go to a different place. Go ahead and rescind your passport and give back your citizenship you have. Go to another country. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that concept of America being embarrassed. Listen, yes, America's done a lot of things. We have a history, but we've been the bully on the other side as well. But why are 45, 50 million people wanting to come here? Why do we only talk about the American dream? Because the founding fathers built something really special. And now we want to say, yeah, but do you realize Thomas Jefferson was a racist? And George Washington was this, and all these, folks that want reparations, and then they sit there and do the ancestry test on them, on African-American men and women who are famous celebrities, and then they say, you actually realize your great-great-great-great-grandfather was a slave owner. Oh, no way. Oh, yes. I don't know what to say. Oh my God. No, you're a hypocrite. No, it's called none of your family members were perfect. We all have something in our lineage, but it happens to be America ended up doing it the right way. And that's why it's the greatest country. So I think Europe is going through it as well. And I don't blame them to realize their job is to be Germany first, UK first, America first. I understand that. And we need to have that pride as well, like we did before, and make sure that we invite the best people here, those who love America, not those who hate America.
Yeah, did you see that, was it Italy and I forget the other country, put big tariffs on imports from China? And so now Germany's going to get slapped on their Mercedes cars and BMWs. They're going to get big tariffs and screw with their business.
Right.
What are they thinking? What is that? How does this EU going to work? How's this going to play out?
Let them fight it out, right? I mean, let them fight it out and see what they're going to do with this, which is great. And by the way, the fear right now is that China has this company called BYD, okay? China's never competed in the EV space, never. If you go look at actually the EV numbers in the top 5 countries and leaders in EV, 5 years ago, they're nowhere even to look at 5 years ago. All of a sudden, they realize they have access to all the natural resources needed to make EVs more than anybody else because they have it in their country. And the next thing you know, this company called BYD, they're producing EVs and they're selling it for $9,700. And now they go and build a plant in Mexico called Hufusan because they're starting to realize the cost of labor is now cheaper in Mexico than it is in China. It used to be cheaper in China than Mexico. Now it's 50 cents less per hour in Mexico than it is in China. And the reason why they went to Mexico is because they can bring the cars up and have to avoid the tariffs. And now there's a benefit, tax benefit for coming up. So these guys are trying to maneuver the game because if all of a sudden BYD comes to US and they're selling their cars for $9,700, guess who's out of luck? All the other EV companies in America. If you look at every single EV company in America, look at their stock. Some of them are down 30% for the year, some 40, some 96%. There is a EV company in America down 96%. They're worried because China can make it on 1/5 of a price. So Europe is now scared to say what they're going to be doing. So they're trying to put the tariffs on there. They're trying to come together. This war of EVs is going to be a very interesting one. But Europe is realizing, hey, we can't be making it this easy for them to come in. So, I mean, anyway, it's getting very nasty over there. But they're realizing if you don't make your country first as a priority, no problem. Someone will come and take over your land and destroy your land. They'll do it because they don't care about your country. They care about their family. No one should care more about their country than the ones that are living there, operating and that have pride in whatever their country is. Italy, Germany, Spain, US, it doesn't matter what it is. There needs to be that pride for their country.
Yeah, I've noticed they're all trying to figure out what is it to be French? What is it to be Italian? We got to really open it back up and try to understand ourselves, and then it's all motivated because they're afraid it's going to get washed away. Also, I'm hearkening back to what you said about that woman having felt brainwashed. I don't know if you saw Amber Rose the other day. She declared that she's going to vote for Trump. Then they asked her, I want to interview her. You should interview her too. And she said, well, the people, why? I've been brainwashed. And I'm not brainwashed. I thought, oh my God, I must speak to her. That's so fascinating. How did she get unbrainwashed? What was it like being brainwashed? Who did she trust that ended her? That's the group. I want more people like that awaken from their spell. That really needs to be our job, David. Patrick, rather.
No, it's true. It's true. And by the way, Trump was just on the Logan Paul's podcast. Logan Paul's podcast. Logan Paul posted a picture of him and Trump. He got nearly 1 million likes on Instagram. It's one of his most liked pictures he's ever posted. And they had a podcast at Mar-a-Lago. Why does Logan Paul, who is one of the biggest famous celebrities today that's coming up, right? Why is he, who's represented by some of the most powerful agents in Hollywood, why does he feel comfortable not talking to Trump? That wasn't the case 4 years ago. Why does he feel comfortable now? Mm-hmm. Well, why is Amber Rose feeling comfortable saying? Why is Stephen A. Smith as vocal as he is towards Biden? He works for Bob Iger. I mean, why is he? There's so many names. Now, I'm not saying Stephen A. Smith's going to vote for Trump. I've had him on. We're good friends. We talk all the time. But why is he so critical of Biden? Why are so many people more comfortable sharing their thoughts today than before? Because common sense eventually prevails. And because manipulation has a lifespan. You cannot a guy Why does a 45-year-old guy or a 38-year-old guy like dating a 23-year-old girl? Because he can manipulate her. Most of the time when an older guy dates a really young girl, why? Because he knows the game. He knows what to say. He knows how to make her feel like she's the one, and he's got 4 or 5 guys. He knows the game. It's not hard to play the game. And then what happens to her? No, he loves me. No, for sure he loves me. Oh, I'm the only one. And in a year, 2 years, it's like, holy shit. Well, guess what? You were manipulated for 2 years. America's done being manipulated. Most of them, a lot of them are. So you got that camp that was manipulated. You got the other camp with common sense. And then we're also realizing one other thing, which is a beautiful thing. And Dr. Drew, you know this. Bad policies have consequences. But it takes a minute to know you have bad policies. You can implement a compensation plan for your sales team or your employees and see how that comp plan is going to do anything for your company. And you can say, that was a bad comp plan. But it takes about a year or two, you realize that was a terrible compensation. You can put in our comp plan in America, it's our tax system, right? That's the American comp plan. If you live in California, you have the shittiest comp plan. If you live in California, they're the 50th worst comp plan in America. Number one comp plan right now, many people will say is Tennessee, right? Well, then you got maybe Florida or Nevada. They're starting to pick up a lot of different people. So you're starting to realize that, and I think people are changing. And they're sitting there saying, "The hell am I doing with this now? Trump's not that bad of a guy. Why am I liking this other guy? I don't even know what he's talking about. His son, he was on crack, cocaine, doing all these drugs. He's got this, girl that he gets pregnant, but the father, President Biden, doesn't want to claim that that's his grandkid, and the girl writes a book and comes out that the story is true and the way he was." That's the kind of kids you raise, that even Hillary Clinton in one of the debates where the guy asks, "Hey, this has been a pretty strong debate. Is there anything good you have to say about the other person?" Trump says, "You got to give credit to Hillary. She's always been a fighter, and I respect that." He asks Hillary, Miss Secretary Hillary Clinton, "What do you have to say about Trump?" He says, "Well, if there's anything you have to respect, is his kids." Yeah. You think kids accidentally become that way? You think you accidentally raise kids like that? No. You think accidentally you raise a son that sleeps with your oldest son's wife that's dead? That the husband, wait, let me get this straight. You raise boys where your youngest son is a drug addict, and your oldest son who dies, your youngest son hooks up with your oldest dead son's wife? How does that happen? That's not normal. So Americans are sitting there saying, "Look, man, I can talk as much shit as I want about this orange guy, but how come his kids are relatively, you see how she carries herself. You see how Tiffany invites to the wedding. Oh, no, they don't like each other. No, you see Barron, how he talks about his family. And you see Don, you see Eric. How did this happen?" People are starting to realize, and they're not dumb. It's just millions were manipulated for a certain period, like Amber Rose you're talking about. Now they're starting to say, "Yeah, I've been through this before with an ex or with a parent or with a relative or with a boss. I'm not going to go through this again." That's what America's going through today.
Well, my friend, we started this conversation talking about manipulations and cancellations, and let's kind of wrap it up here. Is there any last promotional material I missed? Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
The only thing I will say to the audience is, in my life, I think it's best for us to think this way. I have two people sitting here. One side of me is this Patrick, who thinks the future looks bright, overly, obliviously optimistic about the future, okay? As I grew up and I was always like this, a dreamer, I realized wisdom comes with being a little bit paranoid. I read a book by this man named Andy Grove, who in Silicon Valley is a god in business. He wrote a book called Only the Paranoid Survive. My suggestion to your viewers that are watching this, stay optimistic, but stay paranoid to make sure nobody can take advantage of you. If you do that properly, your future will look bright.
I have a positive bias also, but you're right. If you allow your biases to be unrestrained, you get into trouble. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and good luck with the Vault and with Connect. It's very, very exciting coming up this year. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. You bet.
Bye-bye.
And I want to remind everybody before I bring Carla Treadway in for a little conversation that Susan and I are participating in the 3rd annual Reclaiming Canada conference next week. It's June 21st through 23rd in Victoria, British Columbia. It's almost sold out. I think it is sold out, but they're switching the tickets over for you to attend virtually. It's virtual attendance. Get your virtual tickets at weunify.ca. weunify.ca. This conference is important. It's a way to bring together leaders from government, digital platforms, media, academia, civil society to address real disinformation and censorship. Goal is to come up with a strategy to thwart Canada's direction, get them to reclaim democracy. For more information, go to weunify.ca, and you'll get to see many of the subjects that you've seen on this podcast, including Dr. McCullough and Dr. Reish, and some really exciting guests there. Oh, we got the list here on my phone. Sorry about that. Let me show you. Dre Humphrey, Charlie, Marty up north, Paul Alexander.
Zuby will be there.
Zuby will be moderating. Let's see. We've got Bhattacharya is going to be there. Chris Scott.
Steve Kirsch.
It's really an interesting group. Foster Colson's going to speak. Lauren
From
Southern.
TWC.
Yep.
On Saturday with you.
It's just.
Oh, and also your favorite, Dr. Bhattacharya.
I said that. I know. I just did Dave
Paul
Rubin's
Alexander.
These are all people we can't wait to meet in person.
A lot of our guests that we have never met in person.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of fun.
Looking really forward to it. Ted Kuntz.
There's 2 days, 2 full days. So you can watch online.
A lot going on. But let's bring Carla Treadway in, who's part of the organization, to tell us her story, which is interesting. Carla, thank you for sitting by and so patiently, and we appreciate you being here. So tell us your story and what happened and what you do now and how you got involved with WeUnify.
Oh man. So I thought my business, owning my own business was my ticket to freedom. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I had this thriving yoga and fitness studio in my community, which got taken down during the pandemic because we were forced to close pretty much off and on for about 18 months here in Canada. And I didn't realize how vulnerable I was. So now I teach people how to bulletproof their businesses. I do a lot of activist work, I guess, in this movement, trying to talk about the things that are happening in Canadian government, our financial system, healthcare. I really had my eyes widened in 2020. I thought Canada was this perfect little country, to be honest. I thought I didn't really have to keep a close eye on our politicians. I thought we were just a nice country where there was nothing to worry about. And man, was I wrong.
Were you an anomaly? Were you a minority in some way in coming to this conclusion? Or are there, obviously there's a bunch of truckers that feel like this, but are there a lot of Canadians that are sort of waking up?
There are a lot of Canadians waking up. However, because we essentially have state-controlled media, which most Canadians don't realize, a lot of people aren't waking up. And I think the only thing that actually will fully wake everyone up is when they start to personally suffer. And I think we're getting there. So the trucker movement was huge. It did wake up a lot of people. But mostly it made those of us who were already awake know that we weren't alone, because we really thought we were all alone. And I don't know if you know, like in Canada, for me to watch the news, for example, on social media, I have to use a VPN. If I try and go to any kind of independent news media on social media, I get a big sign that says, you can't watch this content in Canada. These are the kind of things that our politicians are creating. They are literally blocking the news, saying that they're
sounds like North Korea.
It is. I mean, the worst bill that they're trying to put through right now would be the Online Harms Act. And what they're framing it is something that's going to protect children from online harm. But what it actually is anything that they deem as hate speech can be punishable by house arrest, up to life imprisonment. And here's the kicker: financial incentives for people that report on their neighbors, even if they haven't done it yet. So you, Dr. Drew, could report me, receive financial compensation for things that I might say under this bill. It hasn't passed yet, but these are the kind of things that our government is trying to pass right now. It's very 1984. It's very North Korea. And most Canadians are completely oblivious to what's going on.
Do people not appreciate, not only is it North Korea 1984, but it's Germany 1938? 8. This is the Hitler Youth. This is how Nazism got a toehold, was neighbors reporting neighbors, and these purity pledges and all this stuff. Do they not realize what's happening? They just don't know?
No, 100%. There's a book out there called They Thought They Were Free, and it's the lead up to the Holocaust. It's the very early stages, just like you're referring to. Like, I remember the first time reading that book, and I just thought that's happening. First, they took control of medicine, then the educational institutions, then radio. This is how they do it. And most people are turning a blind eye because they're comparing now to the Holocaust, to the end result, instead of the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I was interviewing a psychology couple here, and the wife was was a Canadian, and she goes, Canadians are sheep. And I went, what? She goes, they're very nice, and they are nice, but don't get that wrong. They're also very passive, and they're very much sort of just go along to get along. They're sheep. How do you change that? And I mean, let's put it this way: are very few people business owners, and is that why so few people were affected so personally the way you were?
That's a good question. I think the government has grown itself by over 300% at the moment. So when you hear Trudeau talking about how the economy has grown, it's because he's using more taxpayer dollars to grow his government. So there are a lot of people with government jobs, social work jobs that are getting paid by the government. So I guess it's you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
And my understanding is you now help people create businesses that are protected and autonomous. How do you do that? Where do you do that?
I do. So originally I lost my brick and mortar. I rebuilt myself online before I really had a good understanding of what was happening. When I understood what was happening in politics and healthcare and with the vaccines, then I started saying horrific things online, like we shouldn't judge people for their medical decisions, which lost me every dollar in the bank. Every client lost everything again. But now I've rebuilt 10 times better, 10 times the amount of income, impact, by really leaning into truth and gathering people that align with my values. So I help people a few different ways. One, just really practically getting into the online space is a better place to be. We are vulnerable if we have brick and mortars. The lockdowns work so well. I don't mean they worked for healthcare. I mean, they worked well for the government and everybody listened to the rules. I don't doubt that they wouldn't try something like that again. But the next part actually is, how do you then bulletproof your online business? You can't just have your stuff on social media or YouTube. I've been taken off of YouTube multiple times. I could lose my social media channels like that with these new hate speech bills. Like, I'm probably going to jail. So that means I have to have a really strategic marketing plan outside of social media where I actually own the digital real estate. Otherwise, I'm still vulnerable. And then, of course, there's making money in multiple different ways, but also investing and saving your money in different ways, gold and silver, cryptocurrencies, that kind of thing. We are in wild times, and I never thought I'd be focused on this kind of material, but it's good adulting right now. We kind of have to. And similar to Patrick, I like to have one foot in, like preparedness, awareness, and then the other foot is on thriving, living my life, enjoying my life. But you kind of need to do both in 2024.
I like the way Carly goes, thriving, just thriving, what I'm supposed to be doing. And do people you consult, do people go somewhere to get your services? And where do they go?
Yeah, I have an online community called the Sovereign CEO Academy, where I have online courses that can support people. I coach in there every single week. I run a quarterly mastermind, and I work with individuals one-to-one. And I also have a podcast where I give people tools and strategies that they can apply for free. And then I also bring on great guests like you, other people in medicine, politics, everyone that's solutions minded. I try and bring these people to the show because it's one thing to highlight all the problems, but I like to focus on all the solutions because I think there's actually plenty right now.
Yes. And the name of the podcast?
is the Sovereign CEO.
So the Sovereign CEO. And what is your X? We have the we_unify on X for people that are interested. Also, weunify.ca, as I said. But for you personally, for Carla, what's your X handle?
Oh, that's the when We Unify came along, it was just something that I had to go and support. It's the first real tangible thing I've seen since the convoy. It's run well, it's professional. This isn't a protest. This isn't a freedom event. This is a solutions conference. And I love that the organizers here are focused on building bridges, on building solutions. And in fact, we've made a real concerted effort with this event to invite all political parties, to invite legacy media. And of course, guess what? Legacy media doesn't want to come. The Liberals, the NDP, I guess Canada's Democrats, none of them will come, which is just a glaring, obvious example that their policies aren't based in truth or reality, because people with really good ideas are willing to debate. And I think most Canadians are probably reasonable, critical thinking people in the middle, not with a strong right or left bias, but it's really scary what's happening. People are being funneled to the left or the right, unable to hear each other. And we really need to be able to have conversations. So we're still encouraging legacy media, parties from the left to come and join us. All respectful debate is welcome. We would love to have you come and bring your ideas. If they're good ideas, surely you will come and debate them with us.
And Carla, we missed your X handle. Where can they follow you on X?
I'm at the Sovereign CEO.
That's the X. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here, and we look forward to meeting you in Canada and British Columbia. Thank you for joining us here and for supporting the program and for the work you do for your small business colleagues out there.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And lots of online tickets available. So if you can't join us live, come and join us online. You're going to hear a lot of good solutions that you can actually put into action after this event.
There it is. Thank you so much, Carla.
Thank you.
And there we go. So interesting show today. Let's get the, did you want to say something about the event coming up?
No, I put the link on, I posted it. So go over there and get your tickets.
And
so you can watch
lots of interesting guests
the show
coming up. As we had said before, I'm going to look quickly while Caleb's putting the guest list up on the Restream and the Rumble Rants and see what you guys are talking about. Oh boy, somebody's ready to leave Canada if that bill goes through. Okay, somebody was muted, they say. Canada's big problems. Yep. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Yes, happy Father's Day this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate
Happy
that.
Father's Day weekend.
Yep.
We won't be back.
Remdesivir, let's see. They would like Amber Rose. People have been saying that. COVID-19. Oh, they're not cheap.
I reached out to Chris Laxamata.
Here. Maureen says they are not cheap. This is talking about the Canadians. They are very intelligent, business-minded, who work their asses off. They just didn't suspect how deep the corruption went. There could be. But then wake up. Let's get unhypnotized, everybody. There's what's coming up. Check the times. Like I said, Salty Cracker is going to be at noon. Generally, will be at 3 o'clock Pacific time. Susan, what did you say there? What was the last comment? I missed that. Susan?
I reached out to Chris Laxamata because I think he booked her on your podcast once.
Carla?
No. Amber Rose.
Oh, yeah. A long time ago. Yeah, that's true. It's true. I don't know if we have any contact with her, and I'll check it out.
See?
All right, Caleb, anything on your front?
Nope. I'm just excited for Father's Day coming up. It's going to be fun with my babies.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to do anything all day. Do you get to do you have to just, do you get to just relax and all the moms take care of the babies and you get to just drink beer and put your feet up on the table and smoke a cigar?
Not so much. That's the opposite of what I've requested. I requested that my wife and we're going to go out for dates on this Friday so that on Father's Day, I just get to hang out with her and the babies the whole day so they can just all be around.
Aww,
my babies are fun.
Look at you. I know.
Hey, we see that. Hey, Susan, can we do the My Pillow thing up there? We were supposed to get that up. We love seeing the little glimpses we get of Caleb's kids. They are a lot of fun. We can see it. But I want to remind people about our friend Mike Lindell, and he's been very kind. The organization is so nice. When you call them, you'll be amazed how lovely they are. I want to tell you about these great deals he set up for us at mypillow.com using the promo code Dr. Drew. Flash sale on dish towels, 6 for $25. When Susan and I are not traveling, we do cook. And by the way, we use Paleo Valley grass-fed beef tallow and their single-sourced organic olive oil, which is rich in polyphenols. That's a digression, but lots of cooking means we go through the kitchen. Towels like paper towels. And it's, look, when they're fresh and soft, it's awesome. Promo code Dr. Drew at mypillow.com. Mystore.com gets you access to some really cool stuff as well and really cool prices. Again, check out our friends at MyPillow, and the code is Dr. Drew. We'll see you. Oh, and we are, get Caleb's baby some new shoes. That will help also at MyPillow. But I believe we're in on Monday next week with Charlie Kirk. That's another thing. Yes, we're in on Monday because we're going to be going to the, look how cute. We are going to be gone.
Presley.
Going to,
in Camden.
Yeah, he's much bigger
Look
than
at those bangs.
Now. I know.
I had a dream about Jordan, my son Jordan, last night, and he was that age jumping around. I was going to get him dance lessons in my dream. I should have made him a dancer.
But just a short aside, so Charlie Kirk is on Monday at 3:00, and then Jamie and the Julian Assange brother, that'll be Tuesday and Wednesday, all at 3:00, because we are heading up to Vancouver to British Columbia on Thursday the 20th. There'll be no show that day, so we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, we'll be in British Columbia.
Monday at 3:00. And don't forget Albuquerque. Check out the Recovering America panel that we're going to be.
And that's this weekend.
It's this Saturday in Albuquerque, so check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you. Happy
Find the
Father's
links
Day.
on X or on our website.
Okay, perfect. And we'll see you Monday at 3:00. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.